in the beginning, there was something before that, and at the end, there'll be something else. Welcome to the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. I'm Thundercloud, Mum calls me James. Washing away the garbage, leaving rainbows after rains. Let's have some games. I'm James. That'll do what? Oodgeroo. I'm going to be reading tonight out of a book called Oodgeroo by Cathy Cochrane. So to begin the night, I'll acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we stand, the traditional custodians of the land of all the First Nations across this continent called Australia, and acknowledging the continuing connection to the land of the elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledge that sovereignty has never been ceded and that there are still people in this land that don't have a sovereign, an external sovereign in another country. They are sovereign beings. And tonight I'm going to, as I did last night, celebrate one of the well-known First Nations poets, Oodgeroo Noonucal, formerly known as Kath Walker, previously Kathleen Mary Jean Rasker, as she was born. And the first Aboriginal poet to publish a book of poetry. So she was not only an Aboriginal poet, she was an activist. And when I guess on reading this, what I've read from this biography of hers by Cathy Cochrane, when people in Brisbane started a movement towards Aboriginal rights, was actually started by some white people who then went out looking for someone to make connections with Aboriginal people, and they were all saying, go and see Kath Walker, go and see Kath Walker. And so it's interesting that she was on the island known as Minjerribah, which got renamed Stradbroke, which you might be aware that Fraser Island has been renamed Gagari recently, as Uluru was taken back its original name. Well, that's going to happen to Stradbroke Island too, I believe. Yeah. So Minjerribah, and Quandamooka, Moreton Bay. I'm going to start with this story in Oodgeroo's words, and it's called Paperbark Tree. And the word Oodgeroo means paperbark tree. So when she decided to adopt an original name, she chose that one, and of Noonucal, which was her clan up there. And one of the other poets that Aboriginal poet Colin Johnson, on discussion with Kath or Oodgeroo, he changed his name. He was a Noongar man from the west. He changed his name to Mudruroo, which also means paperbark. So this is our paperbark tree. In the new dream time there lived a woman, an Aborigine, who longed for her lost tribe and for the stories that had belonged to her people, for she could remember only the happenings of her own dream time. But the old dream time had stolen the stories and hidden them. The woman knew that she must search for the old stories, and through them she might find her tribe again. Before she set off, she looked for a yam stick and dilly bag, but time had stolen these too. She found a sugar bag and the ants had left, which time had forgotten to destroy, and she picked it up and carried it with her wherever she went. Time laughed at her efforts. He thought a new dilly bag was useless. One day as she searched, the woman came upon the ashes of a fire her own tribe had kindled long ago. Tears came to her eyes, for she yearned for her tribe and felt lonely. She sat down by the ashes and ran her fingers through the remains of the fire that had once glowed there. And as she looked at the ashes, she called to Biami, the good spirit, to help find her tribe. Biami told her to go to the paperbark trees and ask them to give her some of their bark. The paperbark trees loved this woman who'd lost her tribe, and they gave her their bark. They knew that she was not greedy and would not take more than she needed, so she put it in her dilly bag. Then Biami told the woman to return to the dead fire of her tribe, collect all the charred sticks, and place these too in her bag, and do this to each time she came upon the dead fire of any lost tribe. Time did not understand what the woman was doing, so he followed her. She travelled far and wide over the earth, and each time she came upon the dead fire of a lost tribe, she would gather the charred sticks. And when at last her bag was filled with them, she went to the secret dreaming place of the old tribes. Here she rested, called to Biami, and asked him to help her remember the old stories, so that through them she might find her tribe. Biami loved the woman, and he put into her mind a new way in which she might find these stories and her tribe. The woman sat down and drew from her bag the charred pieces of stick that she'd taken from the dead fires, and placed the paperbark flat upon the ground. She drew the sticks across the paperbark and saw that they made marks on the surface. So she sat for many years making the paperbark with the stories of the long lost tribes, until she'd used up all the charred remnants she had gathered and her bag was empty. In this way, she recalled the stories of the old dream time, and through them entered into the life of the lost tribes. And when next the paperbark trees filled the air with the scent of their sweet honey-smelling flowers, they took her into their tribe as one of their own, so that she would never again be without paperbark she needed for her work. They called her Oodgeroo, and this is the story of how Oodgeroo found her way back into the old dream time. Now she's happy because she can always talk with the tribes whenever she wants. Time has lost his power over her because Biami has made it so. So that's that's a little bit of dreaming there of Oodgeroo. Now I was going to do another one that I guess one of the reasons she has a lot of significance for myself is that I've been going to Minjerribah for about over 15 years or so, and that's where someone had a dream that I had seahorse medicine, and then the next day someone gave me a book that said, with Lionel Richie on the front, and is it me you're looking for? In that book I wrote like my first bit of poetry when I was travelling, and that was just after I got off Minjerribah, Australia. Just at Dunwich there, you've got there's an art gallery there, and this poem is written around like the whole top of the wall of this art gallery on Stradbroke Island there at Dunwich. It's an Aboriginal Charter of Rights. This was written around about 1970, and there's there was some protests happening there in King George Square in Brisbane and stuff. We want hope, not racialism, brotherhood, not ostracism, black advance, not white ascendance, make us equals, not dependence. We need help, not exploitation. We want freedom, not frustration, not control, but self-reliance, independence, not compliance. Not rebuff, but education, self-respect, not resignation. Free us from a mean subjection, from a bureaucrat protection. Let's forget the old-time slavers. Give us fellowship, not favours. Encouragement, not prohibitions. Homes, not settlements and missions. We need love and not overlordship, grip of hand, not whip hand wardship, opportunity that places white and black on equal basis. You dishearten, not defend us, circumscribe who should befriend us. Give us welcome, not aversion, give us choice, not cold coercion. Status, not discrimination, human rights, not segregation. You, the law, like Roman Pontius, make us proud, not colour conscious. Give the deal, you still deny us. Give goodwill, not bigot bias. Give ambition, not prevention. Confidence, not condescension. Give incentive, not restriction. Give us Christ, not crucifixion. Though baptized and blessed and Bibled, we are still tabooed and libelled. You devout salvation sellers, make us neighbours, not fringe dwellers. Make us mates, not poor relations. Chiefs, not serfs on stations. Must we native old Australians in our land ranked as aliens, banish bands and conquer caste, then we will win our own at last. And there's only one more that I'm going to really want to read to you tonight, and I guess this one also has a significance in a funny way for me as well. I've got it marked in here, so it really, but I think I've got to find it, and I'm not sure where I stuck it. What's this long one? Yeah. So she had two sons, Dennis Walker and Vivian Walker, and Vivian passed quite young, but this was written by her and her son Kabul, meaning rainbow serpent. And now I know that she's related to the Walkers of the Bundjalung of the Northern Rivers of New South Wales, and also Kabul is, where's the phone? That'll be the phone, Reg. In Bundjalung area, Kabul is a rainbow serpent too. Anyway, I'll wait till this phone stuff rings out and then I'll start. This was written and performed at Brisbane World Expo 88, so in 1988. At that time, I just moved to Brisbane. It was my first year there, and I was at Griffith Uni in Brisbane, Nathan, studying environmental science. And yeah, it was an interesting time because it was just after Joe Bjelke-Petersen had been ousted, and it was a sort of huge changes afoot in Brisbane. But this has kind of got nothing to do with any of that. This is what she and her son would present at World Expo. Well, g'day, all you earth fellas. Come on, sit down, my country now. I see you come into sacred place of my tribe to get the strength of the Earth Mother. The Earth Mother. We're different, you and me. We say that Earth is our mother. We cannot own her. she owns us. This rock and all these rocks are alive with her spirit. They protect us, all of us. This land is the home of the dream time. The spirits came and painted themselves on these walls so that man could meet here, grow strong again and take this strength back into the world. This is my totem, Kabul. You know her as the carpet snake. She's my tribe's symbol of the rainbow serpent, the giver and taker of life. When the spirits of men have been made strong again by Kabul, she'll come back to this earth. But she sends us spirit ones with message sticks to help us take time to remember to care for her special things. First, there is Durak, the emu, with the dust of the red earth mother still on his feet. He comes to remind us to protect the land, to always put back as much as we take. Then there's Kapu, the big red kangaroo, the very colour of the land. He comes to remind us to always take time for ourselves. And Mangungali, the goanna, last of all because his legs are short. He brings the news that we, his children, are forgetting to give time to each other. But the animals of the Earth Mother come to say more than this. They come to say that our Creator, that rainbow serpent, she get weak with anger and grief for what we're doing to this earth. But here, now, you fellas, you come sit down by my fire. Warm yourselves. And I'll tell you the story of how this war began. Kabul is the mother of all of us. She's the spirit of this land and all its beauty, all its colour. But there are those who see no colour, who will not feel the beauty of this land, who only wish to destroy the mother and themselves. Their eyes are not open, their eyes are open, but they do not see. Like my ancestors before me, I'll always come back to this place to share the feeling of the land with all living things. I belong here where the spirit of the Earth Mother is strong in the land and in me. Take time, you earth fellows. Let the spirit of this mighty land touch you as it touches my people. Now, Oodgeroo and Vivian were often stopped in the street by conservationists who thanked them heartily for reminding people of the need to care for the Earth Mother. One incident affected Oodgeroo deeply. An Native American had come to Expo and found his way to the back entrance to the pavilion, pleading to be allowed in. They let him in, and with tears running down his face, he walked with excitement around the actors, producers and crew, shaking every hand, saying, "Thank you, thank you." Clearly, he recognised that his ancestors and Australia's Indigenous people shared a tradition of respect for the earth. Yeah. So, we've got one more of Oodgeroo's. It's one I always do because it really, it's got a strong meaning. It's called municipal gum. And when you, just to think about a gum tree in a city, in a street. Gum tree in the city street. Hard bitumen around your feet. Rather, You should be in the cool world of leafy forest halls and wild bird calls. Here, you seems to me like that poor car horse, castrated, broken, a thing wrong, strapped and buckled, its held prolonged, whose hung head and listless mien express its hopelessness. Municipal garment is to Loris to see you thus, set in your black grass of bitumen. Oh, fellow citizen, what have they done to us? So Oodgeroo Noonucal, born the 3rd of November 1920, left the 16th of September 1963, born Kathleen Jean Mary Rusker, Aboriginal political activist, artist, poet, writer, educator, campaigned for Aboriginal rights, best known for her poetry, and was the first Aboriginal Australian to publish a book of verse. Alright. On that note, thank you very much. I'm going to invite Steve, would you like to come on up? Yes, Steven Norris, welcome.
Hello everyone. I have to do a bit of disclaimer here. This is a work of fiction, so any of the characters depicted in here, if they have any bearings to other people in real life, this is coincidental. Okay, this is called The Absence of the Work. The music that speaks truth without chatter, enchanted Munster, bartender and malicious believer in the god of philosophers. Munster, alchemist and mixologist, sensing the rhythm of sick moods rhymed into worse metaphors and their contagious misinterpretations. Sometimes Munster paused at the thought of the breaking of the world, but never poured a beer that overflowed. Fire, famine, flood, disease, madness, the absence of the work, beer, cocktail, spirits. Time is fundamental, space emergent. Thus it's wise to keep time. Munster saw the future in the palms of the boss's grip and heard it in the boasting of psychopathic victories. Learning its history, Munster kept time. The boss owned space and ruled over time. Munster perceived differently. The rulers care enough about natural law to use symbols before employing force. The boss arranged a community of staff into marketable images, capturing feigned moments before thoughtfully burning wage power on the stake of necessity. Ideology purpled into casual resentment, stinking after the shift. If time is real, then existence is necessarily brutal. Munster poured beers to a drunken boss. He was often forced into word slavery. Occasionally he responded. Ordinarily he grinned. Outside of work, Munster thought, but thought can't exist. Not in time. At the ceremony of final drinks, the boss failed to stop the poem of a rattled sage. Murray, 38 years serving arbitrary power, dutifully aiding the desperation of pleasure. Beloved Murray, scholar, prophet, bartender, comforted to the troubled. Cancelled. Forced into retirement verse. Yes, yes, no, no, Hegel taught us so. No, no, yes, yes. It's the dialectic. Abstract, negative, concrete. Origins, parameters, implications. All terms karma breezed by, personifying the peace symbol carved into her back. But she was only present for a moment of flesh. No, no, yes, yes, the origins of the universe and its concepts. Parameters, implications for bosses. Yes, you, sir, shackled narcissist. You're but an unconscious blip in the process of history. You, sir, yes, yes, the boss, lacking the free consciousness that is necessary to ever become an entity. No, 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 parameters. Subsequent to the disturbance, Murray was found suicided by unnatural causes. The boss had to weigh the profit of sanctimony against private contempt. It ended ceremoniously. In between death and torture, strange feeling thought demands recognition. Yes, you, the prophet saint, serving the gift of drink. sober yet apathetic. No, you're not responsible for the justice I hung the trial of existence upon. And yes, I was wrong. Marx and Hegel were mystics. Message broken by alarm for work. The boss was public cheer at Murray's death ritual. Let's rid us of him here, in this pond he cared for, his ashes for the fishes. Personally, I only admire nature when it fucks, but can respect the occasion. You're wise, Monster. Stay that way, yes, yes. Monster, close to Heraclitus. The boss tried again. I'm longing for the good, but it's not easy for psychopaths. This is why I'm paying you extra to train me in empathy. Monster of the rights. Pay attention, men. The boss erupted. Attention to what? Insects in ponds? Bird songs? Belonging? The becoming of remains? I live my geist. Perform yours. Monster grinned harder. The boss tried the third way. Is it resentment the best of us flourish without depending upon the delusional myth of mutual aid? Monster entered time and worked no more.
Woo! Yeah. I'll have to digest that with some brilliant one-liners in there.
Well,
yeah, I like that. Yeah, I'd love to hear it again. I will because it's recorded. I can just rewind and play it again. Hey, there was some I think nearly all of the Nimbin Performance Poetry World Cup finalists are up there online at the moment, so you can now pretty much see the whole lot of them. One of the other books that I got given this week, Spirit Song here, it's a compilation of a collection of Aboriginal poet by Lorraine Murphy Williams, published in 1993. And so I really wanted just to say thank you very much to Sky for the donation of this book. Thank you, Sky. And this is Miami by Oodgeroo Noonucal. Mother, what is that one see? Sometimes blue or green or yellow. That's Miami's waterhole, he big fellow. Mother, what makes sunset fire? Every night, the big red glare. Miami's gunya, out that way. That's his campfire over there. How come great wide river here, where we swim and fish with spear? Miami dug him. You see big hills all about? They're the stuff that you chuck out. That's it. All right. Okay. Paul. Nothing tonight? Okay. All right. Well, Ashley's out of the room, so I'm going to grab my own poetry and get onto that, which I've got in here all ready to go, and screenshot it and all, and it's ready. Am I going in the right direction? Really sorry, because it's really usually one So I remember as a kid falling asleep to the sound of rain on a tin roof. Melting to sleep in pseudo-silence. It's brown noise, interference, rain on a tin roof. Laying in a forest, wind through the branches, rustling of leaves, cicadas in summer. Frog choruses, chirp, chirp, chirp of crickets, and all those birds. But now, in the pseudo-silence of a passing morning rain front, is brown noise. Rain on a tin roof. Eyes closed. I relax and melt once again. I don't know about you, but I find rain on the roof relaxing. Alright, and another one. How does the imagination work? Here's the thing. 1, think a thought. 2, so 1, the quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. 2, challenge imagining a few different scenarios by changing up the adjectives and the verb. What happens if it's a slow, white female fox on heat and a horny, energetic black male dog? Do you think? How about this scenario? The athletic Instagram influencer Blue Fox sauntered casually over to the well-attired pink French poodle. Or the arthritis-crippled Afghani fox hobbled past the police drug sniffer dog with a kilo of opium up its bum. Or the inanimate grey concrete fox statue sat in the garden and Meg the Labrador peed on it every day. The old silver fox would have a go at any old bitch on it. I knew I'd have to get a laugh. Alright, once upon a time there was a brown fox that was very fast and it liked to jump over things, and it saw what we can assume was a very tired dog, or perhaps even lazy. So it decided it would jump over the dog, and so it did, and the dog didn't care, and the fox was satisfied, and we all lived happily ever after. Ashley Albanese.
Well, I did feel a personal relationship to those animal poems, as I'm an old dog for a hard road. I thought of Stefan Laycock. If you go to LibriVox, you can listen to most of his works well read. He was a great Canadian humorist, and he would have loved to have sat here tonight and gone down the Champs-Élysées with all those dogs. He's a wonderful writer, Stefan Laycock, but he's not very politically correct because of his views on women, but that was his time and tide. But sunny sketches of a small town, some of his classic works have an inimitability, as do those little cameos of James, as I felt. Hypothesis. I've forgotten. Test and parameters. Well, I got 2 out of 3. And I got a laugh. I got a laugh from Steve. Well, here I am again. What have I been reading? Well, for any intellectuals of the visceral kind, after 50 years of hearing about Chicago, put onto the boards in Melbourne by John Romerell 50 years ago, I finally sat and read it, and all I can say is and as I finished it, extraordinary thing that it is, I thought of the essays that I've read for 50 years saying how parallel that the US opera or musical Hair should come to Australia, as John Romerell writes and performs in Carlton, Chicago. Mysterious indeed. Well, John Romerell's left us something in that superb work from 50 years back. I was surprised at how tragically germane it was, and how with all the modern techno it would work brilliantly, except the references to radio, television and newspaper would have to be somewhat updated to flack a flick of this and that. It was the only thing I could find, sadly, that wasn't relevant, because all the other tragic delineations of power and confusion are only too relevant, half a century down the track. And while I'm on with John Romerald, I dug around on YouTube and there's a 40-minute interview with him that is quite magical as an artisan and playwright living in Castlemaine. Anyone here been to Castlemaine? After listening to Mr. Romerald talk about it for 40 minutes, it must be quite a place. Anyway, if I recommend anything, I recommend that. 40-minute chat with John Romerald, who is, I thought, a fascinatingly complex person. And that certainly comes out in his dramaturgy. Nice word, that, dramaturgy, isn't it? Instead of just playwright. Well, here's a little piece I constructed sitting at the table. Termite, practical mounder. Beaky parrot pecks a whole hole. Lays its egg in the side. Termite clays over the aperture. Warm egg, safed, secured for its epic flight. They go all around the Aussie bush, those poor buggers, the little termites, and they get old logs and bits of desiccation, and they put holes in that animals can live in or get water from, and add to the movement pattern of their life cycle. But also some animals will dig into the termite mound and leave their egg, like the parrot and others, to be sealed back up and kept warm and safe for that epic thing we call birth. Now, I thought I would read something relevant to our hour and also emblematic of Australia, I think, in some way. When John Manifold was a youngster, they would all sit around in this house. I'm about to show you the photograph, and have dinner speaking in French and looking out the window, not seeing any Aborigines passing by because they'd all been sent forth or slaughtered by them. But they'd sit round at dinner having good quality French conversation in that house in the top photograph. So Manifold had a natural and deep intellectual background, the French language being a powerful creation. And in his life he took a couple of, he did quite a bit of translating. So something that speaks to our moment in history. Rodney Hall speaks of him in this study and says, to see the author at his best, one must turn to the translations of Le Conte de Lille or to the final sonnet, Nightmares. And he goes on, Le Conte de Lille was a colonial, he died in 1894, born on the island of Reunion, who made his home in Paris, where after an active political life, he became leader of the Parnassian School of Poets, who proclaimed the impersonality of art and rejected subjectivity and the extravagances of Romanticism. So, of course, Hall goes on to say that Manifold was struck with a warm response to this colonial voice coming to Paris, as so many Australian voices went from the colony to London in his time. And Nightmares is his translation of one of Le Conte de Lisle's poems. And I think it has a very deal of prescience. Nightmares. When bright Orion has declined, his aim obliquely from the pole, and darkness taken full control of earth and sleeping humankind, stampeding out of waters behind, the skewbald nightmare and her foal plunge their great hooves and caracole against the fences of the mind. Hold! Screaming wire and splintering rail, panic, not malice drives the beast. She dares not linger to break in, for racing closer, at her tail she scents the horsemen of the east, who patch their tents with nightmare skin. Yes, I'll just bring that last image to life once more if I can. It's certainly relevant to our moment. For racing closer at her tail, she scents the horsemen of the east, who patch their tents with nightmare skin. Yes, sombre and pertinent. Now, I shall finish with a poem of Faye Zvicky's. James and I have been reading what Mr. Kinsella says is one of the great masterpieces of Australian utterance, a poem called Kadesh. I'm still reading. James has a lot of comments on it too, but I'm still thinking about it. You know, those pieces of music you keep coming back to that you're told are very great if you study the classics, and eventually you say to yourself one sombre winter afternoon, why am I still listening to this if I don't like it? That happened to me with the Bartok string quartets, and I realised eventually their unique, sublime grandeur. Well, I don't know if grandeur is quite the word for Bartok's quartets. This poem is not long, but it's not short, and I'll finish with it tonight. It's a poem of Faye Zvicky's that, well, I am going on about it because there are many things going on in it. There are many voices in this poem. When you read essays or books about her, they always talk about her digestion of these tones and writers into her own inimitable voice. I nearly said inimical voice. Well, there is something inimical about her writing too, I think, in a strange way. Though she's always telling us to be at peace and to go through the cycle and the suffering to silence and atonement. But, you know, she probably is as inimical as any other quality. This is a quite famous work called Picnic. On a green sweep of Kings Park grass, dappled with late summer shadow, I joined a picnic with Afghani refugees, sat sedately with the women, demure but sprightly in their hijabs. Kids darting, tossing balls, larking around politely into food. Meatballs, hummus and tabbouleh mingled with our sizzled sausages on paper plates. Coke and juice. Someone had found work, someone had been accepted as a lab technician, someone's husband, still in detention 3 years on. Did she get to see him? No, couldn't get time off, after school, the kids alone, and so on. Under a far-off tree, their fathers, uncles, brothers brooded, a still, silent circle squinting into sunlight, smoking, looking straight ahead. Nobody seemed to be thinking of a better world. Nobody was asking for more than a place to sit quietly and wait. What weighs the heart must sit it out till nightfall for release, once everyone's asleep. And even then, watching all this, in and out of it, remembering my own young wifehood as a stranger, my first child born in an alien tongue, the grey apartment block, the cold, the speechless folk who passed without a nod or smile, the men who carried boxed, piled with lurid neckties from the Kraftwarenfabrik upstairs a condemned building. Where would we all end up? The tenants rouse the concierge. The baby cries all night. That pram is blocking the foyer. Tell the foreigner I took it 6 flights up and 6 flights down on sunny days. Wasps clustered over cherry jam, the tiny kitchen scrubbed washboard, hovering useless over the baby's wheezy breath. I rarely ventured out, avoided peak hours in the cellar armed with shameful nappies, took my turn with dread before the commune's idle, a glassy water-driven centrifuge. Its thick black snout writhed serpentine around the tub, soap scummed water spewing forth from flood-tide wine to whiz to final cataract. Mesmerised, I bowed. Anyone can marry and have children, said my mother far away in cloud cuckoo land of Oz. Savage with disappointment for her accomplished daughter, all the dead scherzoes and maimed fugues. My mother-in-law noted dust balls gathering under the bed, the wilting red geraniums in their box, the cobwebbed pane. I didn't join the turbaned band of broad-assed women lugging rugs each day to the courtyard rack, beating out the grey frustration of their lives with rattan canes. She ought to be ashamed of all that dust, my mother-in-law's precise Hochdeutsch. You'd think my husband's life with me grievous enough without her fretful chorus. Months like this, as Zurich wives and spinsters buttoned to the neck in black, twitched yellowing curtains, pursed their lips, beat their fraying carpets in the yard, tumbled boxes of neckties passing up and down under their wordless bearers, wasp landing, taking off, and I both in and out of it, learning how to live a life, sit quiet in a cold place, waiting to touch the sun-warmed earth.
So, Faye's Wiki, I've got some of her anthologies on the way from WA Press.
Boy, do I look forward to. They're the collected works, aren't they? Yeah.
Yeah,
400 page. I'm going to go through them all. With passion.
It was published, I think the day before she died. How bizarre is that, eh? Or the week, something. Really. Now I've got. What have I got? I've got 3 to go. Okay, and I've been thinking about the order because I've got more that I've written, but I'm not going to do them all. But I'm going to do 2 that I wrote this week and 1 that I wrote a while ago. We'll start with Flea. This was written about 5 hours ago. Flea said, "I'm just a flea on the bum of the earth, but I'm free. And although near a bum I sit, I prefer to steer clear of shit. Uncomfortable and also itchy, I can make a big dog twitchy. Even though I'm just a flea, most dogs and people can't let me be. I don't care about flies or ticks, fleas don't care about politics, but we take great delight in annoying dogs with our bite. I'm just a little flea. Please don't put poison on me, because I take great delight in itching you with my bite. Fleas don't have dogs like teeth. Fleas don't have teeth like dogs. We're not poison like some frogs. We just point out what's untrue. Us fleas are here to annoy you." And that's Flea. Yeah. Now the next one, I've got music to this, but I'm not too sure if I will do it to music. Now, It's actually called This Is the Sign You're Looking For.
Hey!
But it's totally different to what you're expecting, Vincent.
Okay.
Now, it shouldn't be too hard to find because it's in one of these books here. One of my poetry books. This last week I did get copies of my book Lust in Nimburn, Love in Nimburn, delivered, and they're here, and you can buy them here from me and I can sign them. I've also got Poetry to End Prohibition. Anyway, this is the sign you are looking for. Now, in this poem, and I'm really sorry because it really sucks when you're like flicking through books looking for actually what you want to do, because I have really lost it. But I do know it's in my Poetry to End Prohibition book, and if I look at the contents, I'll find it. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Page 13. All right. There's two parts. Part one called This Is the Sign You're Looking For, Garama, and this is your sign you're looking for, part two, Shame the Cannabis Dealer. Now just this word Garama is a Bundjalung word meaning to care for, to have respect, to have no judgment, and to have no jealousy. People that have Garama are Bugul meaning, inverted commas, good, or and people that are ego-based, that don't care, have no respect, have judgment and get jealous, they are Mugul, which means they're crazy. So there's Bugul, good. So then the other thing in Bundjalung, there's two pronouns. Now in English we have a whole bunch of pronouns. We have he and she and I and you and we and they and it and that. But in Bundjalung there's only two. Nulling, which just means we. And the other one is Nullingar, which means we all together, everything, the earth, plants, the planet, the universe, etc. So there's really just two ideas. So there's very no separation. Everything's part of everything else. So there's we, and so I say in here, Nullingar Garama, we all together have care for, respect, no judgment or jealousy. And anyway, I'll get on with it. This is the sign you're looking for, Garama. A chattering woman says, chemtrails in the sky. An uncle, a crow, a friend walking by, a grandma with children, a man and a woman from Rome, a boy selling medicine, two dogs meet at home. A traveller walking, Tony saying, hello, medical cannabis heals you, no. I'm sitting here watching the world going round. Uncle Gilbert said to a friend he'd called just now, bang from the beer truck, poison for poor, Nullingar Garama. Brings us together for sure. It means care and respect and no jealousy and having no judgment of you or me. This is the sign you're looking for, part two, Shame the Cannabis Dealer. Out and about in Nimbin town, the bully boys are walking round, locking up the herbal healer, have locked up Shame the Cannabis Dealer. What can he do? It's so unfair that bully boys just don't care, persecuting the cannabis dealing while alcohol does harm, not healing. The government want your money. They tax the sink and think it's funny when cannabis is just a herb. Taxes, licenses are observed. Cannabis must be free to grow and juice and heal me. And I stand here in my defiance, shouting about the Plant Freedom Alliance. The war on drugs is going down. The bully boys in Nimbin Town, they're searching for the herbal healer. They've locked up Shane, the cannabis dealer. What else can he do? He can't read, so he sells the medical cannabis that sick people need. While alcohol harms right across the land, the government's deception's grand. Government pharmaceuticals want your money. They poison you and think it's funny when to poison you to control the plants is strange when plants, animals, humans are free range. Free the herbs for you and me. Medicinal plants must be free to help with wellness, self-reliance. I grew herbs in my defiance. Crime gangs profit from the drug war. Policy men exploit the poor. Punitive justice right across the nation. The drug war's pure discrimination. Corporate, prison, industrial, drug war targets young men, black and the poor, making profits by making life hell. Punish your healing so drugs they can sell. There's a solution called harm minimise where people can grow, herbs legalised. It'd be a health boost for the cannabis user and we could all rehab the hard drug abusers. If you legalise drugs, you end the black money. Pharmaceutical crime banks don't think it's funny because legalising herb means their profits are lower. You could grow your own medicine as a cannabis grower. Drug gangs disappear if we end the drug war and we stop locking up young men, black and poor. And if we end the drug war, we help out the healer and the cops will lock up Shane, the cannabis dealer. Good day. Not at all. Alright, I got one more, but I've got to get dressed up for this. So just excuse me a little moment, because I've got to put my pink tail on. Alright? And I know I can't put it on over my jeans, so I'm just going to have to duck out the door and put my pink tail on. Okay. Alright. Ready? Oh, this will be faster than Superman. Hang on. I get there. Okay. Yeah, I'm doing a strip tease here. Okay, ready like Superman. Okay, go.
Has he got uterus psychedelic undies or something? Has he got uterus psychedelic undies?
Yeah, but people might walk past and see them up and just
well,
rush
yeah,
on
yeah.
in, you know, we don't want no...
Please.
No.
A moral plea.
Yes,
The
yes.
moral push, yeah.
A moral.
Yeah,
Yes, he's got out there. That would have stripped knocking here.
yeah.
I'm nearly there.
Transgender
He's really
challenge.
there.
Yeah. He's very woke, isn't he? Maybe the boy one day, girl the next.
Yeah.
He's onto it.
But that's right,
You
yeah.
know,
The whole setting.
oh well. He's got blood of a what? Seahorse.
And the seahorse.
Blood of a seahorse. Jeez.
I'm ready.
Not much funny, mate. Oh, yeah. Yeah. He keeps his mates together, doesn't he? Doesn't she?
Well, I don't know. What do you think, Vincent? The people out there, they want to see this?
Oh, they do.
Oh, they do.
Oh, they do.
They do.
Yeah.
All right, the world. I got a hot because I've only got flippers on and a pink dress. I got this off the free clothes rack in Nimbin because I always wanted a pink dress. I thought, oh, that'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Did you go to St. Vanessa's?
Oh, no. There was a free clothes rack where they'd actually, people had put clothes and people had taken. Good idea, really.
Yeah.
A poet dressed in pink. Do you think? I care what people think. I grow my hair, won't cut my beard. Couldn't give a dying cluck if you think I'm weird. Judge me if you want. What's your excuse? I can be pointed and obtuse. But I'm not here to put up with other people's shit, and I'll tolerate twits one bit, speak shit, and I'll call out it. I'm a poet, dressed in pink. Got balls. I'm a man. I wear pink if I want. Disobey convention just because I can. I don't care if I look like a dag. Call me a fag. You're in a time lag. And I'm not bi. I'm a guy. Don't identify as trans, but a man dressed in pink and a poet. I know it, I show it, my lyrics, I flow it with gumption. You'd be the one who's making an assumption.
Yeah. I didn't bring my wallet. Have you got 50 to hang on it?
You got to stick money on me? I got sunburn this week too. Well, thank you very much, everybody, for coming. Yeah, that's my little performance at the end.
It was very colourful.
Yeah, thanks. Quite right.
I'm going to put my jeans back on now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.